Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world who are here sharing their expertise and wisdom so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Schalk, co-founder of HLH Growth Solutions, where we help businesses scale through outside the box visibility strategies. If you're new to this podcast, welcome. We're excited to have you. Thank you for being here today. You're in for a real treat with my special guest. This is not the first time I've spoken with her. She is a rock star. So I'm really excited that we were able to connect and make this happen today. So stay tuned for this magnificent conversation. But thank you for being here and stay to the end because I have a special gift just for you. But now, without further ado, let me introduce my guest today, Janet Kendall White with Berkshire Group. So welcome, Janet, to the podcast.
Hi, Heidi. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to chat with you again. So Janet, can you kick us off and share with us a little bit about yourself, about the Berkshire Group and your role within it?
Sure. I started Berkshire Group. I'm from the Berkshires in Massachusetts, so that's where the name comes from. People don't realize that. And I started Berkshire Group. I was in the traditional corporate America and had grown into leadership roles and realized that I really gravitated towards the people part of business. So the people part, why teams thrived, why they didn't, why businesses thrived, why they didn't, why divisions of large. I was in a Fortune 100 company when I started my business, and that's what I was attracted to. And I was attracted to it a lot because I saw teams and cultures not succeeding, and knew that it was all about leadership. So, you know the saying, as the leader goes, so goes the team, so goes the organization. And I firmly believe that. So I left corporate America, started Berkshire Group, and, I was in my 20s. And
Wow.
I've been at this for over 30 years.
You're so young. I'm curious. I'll ask this question later. I'm just curious about, the fears that you've had stepping into this, but keep going.
Yeah. So basically, Berkshire Groups help leaders build stronger businesses by becoming stronger leaders. I mean, that's what we're all about. In that process, we also help the leader build teams, cultures, and leadership teams that then can meet their business objectives. And we, start with and focus on the person themselves, their emotional intelligence, their communication skills, the things that are absolutely foundational for leadership, period. And we have some proprietary material that we've developed over the years, some training material. One of our flagship programs over the years that we put hundreds and hundreds of people through is just how to run effective meetings. People sit in meetings all day long and many times don't accomplish much. That became something that organizations really were requesting a lot, because they saw the waste of time. The waste of time is a waste of money, right? So that's a little bit about how I got started. And I really thought, well, what's the worst that can happen? If this doesn't work, I'll go get a job. And then I had a very wise friend of mine say probably within the first 6 months, you struggle to get those first clients, those first customers. And she said, when she heard me say that, well, what's the worst that can happen? I can go get a job. She said, well, then you better go get a job. And I was like, wow. And she said, because that's your back door. You need to close the back door. And I was like, okay. So I closed the back door and here I am.
I love that. And thank goodness for her, that she supported you in that way, because she could have said okay. And she's right. If you have that door open, you're never going to be fully in. To make this happen. So because in the back of your mind, your subconscious is like, well, it doesn't really matter if we make it or not, because there's this window that's still available.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So I had some other questions, but now I'm intrigued by how young you were when you started this. I didn't know that. Can you share with us, what are some of you've been in business for, a long time now. And so you've seen the ups and downs. You've gone through the pandemic. And I'm sure you've gone through many other challenges along the way.
2009.
Yeah, exactly. So can you share with us,
2009.
what were some of the challenges that you faced? And because, every business founder, CEO, leader is going to face challenges. It's not all ice creams and rainbows. So can you share with us some of the challenges you faced and how did you overcome them?
So I think combination of things. So we just had a little breakfast women business owner meeting this week, 2 days ago. And the question for the month was, how do you stay positive about your business? And we all talked about that. And for me, there were struggles in the business, and the struggles in the business and sometimes coincided with chapters in my life. So as a business owner, the buck stops here. Early on, I developed a pretty significant team and did so more accidentally than intentionally. And I think leadership is intentional. It's not accidental. Learning is intentional, not accidental. And early on, I developed $1 million business without really knowing what I was doing. I had a team of 12 or 14 people, all high-powered consultants, all on payroll. And in that process, I had a baby. And by the time she was in 4th grade, she had been in a private school for 5 years. It really hit me. And I don't remember what the incident was that caused it, but it really hit me like in the face, hit a brick wall, where someone else was raising her. Before care, private school, after care, etc. And it's not what I had planned. And so I sat back and said, if you help all these other businesses with their business, with strategic planning, with all these things, and you're not doing it for your own business. So I stepped back and said, what do I want here? What's success look like for me right now? And I had to shift gears. So it was hard. It was a major shift, because I think that when you start a business, you do think about that the only definition of success is bigger. It's got to be bigger, and bigger isn't always the answer. So as my life changed, so did the business. And really no regrets, really thankful that I've had all of the chapters and experiences that I've had, to the point where, now I'm looking at, okay, what's this next chapter and what success look like now? Because I'm at a different age, I'm at a different energy level, I have a different network. What do I really want? What's my legacy? I've always asked myself, what's my legacy? And I think that even when I was in my 20s, it was, what's my legacy? I want to make a difference. I want to make a difference. That's been the theme throughout my life. I want to make a difference in whatever arena I'm in. And so I'm not even sure I answered your question, but I had kind of an, Michael Gerber's term, entrepreneurial seizure. I had an entrepreneurial seizure when I was in corporate America, where I just saw people being put into leadership roles that didn't belong there. They may have been good as an individual contributor, maybe, or they may have been close to a family member, or they may have whatever. But many times it was because they were a good engineer. They were a good salesperson. They were good at what they did. And then they were put in a leadership role where they were supposed to lead people that were doing that function with zero development, zero training. And they didn't know how, and they failed. And shame on them and shame on the company. Yeah. Because no one wins in that case.
And I like that you brought that up. Well, there's so much that you said there, but in going back to the first part of this conversation where you were sharing about meeting effectiveness, when you were sharing that piece, I was like, that seems so easy. Like, you would think that meetings are effective, right? But you're right. They could be complete wastes of time. And if you're wasting time in meetings, you're not creating revenue. And if you're not creating customers in some form of revenue, then the business could possibly not succeed. So you've got to be really intentional on where you're at putting your time, and making sure that that time that was being spent with your team, with your inside of your organization, is effective. But when you were saying that, I'm like, all meetings effective. And that's why they have them. So I was really intrigued by that. So we'll talk about that.
Interesting that you're saying that,
because right?
The statistics still show that the majority of meetings are not effective.
Are ineffective. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think about my meetings in my business too sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, there's probably many meetings where I could sit back and go, that really wasn't effective. Like we got off on a tangent, or we kind of like the steering wheel steered to the right where we were supposed to go left. So yeah, that was I loved that you brought that up, because I think that's like an aha light bulb for a lot of other people listening as well. Thank you for sharing your journey as a woman, and as a woman leader, a woman founder, and as a mom, because I think many women listening are feeling the same way I know I did. And I still struggle with that. Like last night I have clients to take care of, like we pivoted. So now we're relaunching, and this is our first year inside of what we're doing. And you got to work, right? It's not, no matter when you start new businesses, you've got to put the work in. So that's where we're at right now. And I love it. But I have 2 teenagers that I'm trying to still navigate. And the reason I even went into entrepreneurship is because I had 2 little ones moving into.
You wanted flexibility.
And I wanted to be home with them. They knew, they went to private school before I was divorced. They saw me all the time. I was a stay-at-home mom. I was involved. I was probably at their school 3 days a week. So now I went from having to work 2 jobs and build a business, and I wanted to make sure that I was home with them. So I had to reevaluate. And unfortunately, I didn't get to, possibly step into being there as much as I wanted to over the years, but they always had me home. So they always know that I'm here. They need me. They can come talk to me. My door's open. Usually, I used to be in my office. My internet's a little touchy lately, so I'm in here, but they always have me. So I love that you shared that, because I think that's an important piece too. Sometimes you've got to learn and be okay with, we got to take a step back to reevaluate, to move forward. And we have to release some responsibility so that we can, because somebody I interviewed yesterday said, we can have it all, but we can't have it all at once.
That's right.
And I was intrigued by that philosophy as well, because it's like, you can have it all, but you need to do it in stages in order to get there. And sometimes taking a step back is the way in order to get to that, to what you want. So that I love that you shared that too.
I think, Heidi, also, you just used the word again. And I think it's so much about intentionality. It's, you chose to work last night.
Right.
You chose to work last night. You knew what was happening with your teenagers, and you chose that. That's different than us being, victims in any way in our mindset, or us having it happen accidentally, that we didn't manage our time well during the day, so now we're working at night. That's more accidental. That's not necessarily as intentional as, I'm going to, purposely do this tonight, because then I can do that on the weekend. Exactly. With my teenagers.
Yeah, that's true. Great point. So Janet, you built a proven process, and you just talked about, leaders being put in roles that they shouldn't be put in because they did well at what they were good at, right? And just because we're good at a task, or we're really good one-on-one, like you said, like individually, doesn't mean we're good at leading teams and leading others to do that. So you built a proven process for leadership development and team transformation. Can you walk us through what that process looks like and how clients see it's working?
I can. It's also in my book. So yeah, it's in my book, and it's called The Lead Map. And we always start with, foundational is communication. And so we always start with assessments. What's your style? What are your priorities? What motivates you? What stresses you out? What are your hot buttons? We always start with assessments and coaching related to that, and emotional intelligence. So you're not necessarily going to change your personality, nor do we look for or ask anyone to change their personality in leadership development. But let's capitalize on your strengths of your personality, ask you to visit traits of other personalities when you're dealing with a different personality. And then also for emotional intelligence, let's develop the mindsets, all 8 of them. There's 8 mindsets for emotional intelligence. Let's develop the ones that are a little bit outside of your comfort zone, so that you can utilize those when it's appropriate to utilize them. That's huge. I mean, that work can take a while with a leader, depending on where they are with emotional intelligence development. The cool thing about emotional intelligence is you can develop it. And then we move to, if leaders are good at the block and I call it block and tackle. If leaders are good at the block and tackle, depending on the size of the organization they're in, are they really good at handling employee relations things? Are they really good at handling time and attendance? Are they really good at, then those are done. You don't have to think about them. But if you're not good at those, you got to get good at those within your organization before we can even help you much, because you're spending 90% of your time on those poor behaving or poor performing employees because you don't know how to handle it quickly and effectively. So then we move to the how do you run meetings, and so it's a whole, how do you solve problems? How do you solve problems on your own? How do you solve problems in groups? Because most problems are better solved in groups because you have the expertise. If you're leading a team, they have the knowledge. If you can't take them through a process where you're actually looking at root causes versus putting a Band-Aid on something and then you're redoing it and redoing it. So we have a whole process that we take them through. Here's the skills so that your toolbox as a leader is full. You have the skills that you need, you have the tools that you need.
I love that. And you mentioned we're going to go back to this whole leader thing when people are put in leadership roles that they weren't supposed to be in. I really love that you support them. And I think that's probably the biggest, challenge for when people are put in leadership roles. They're not given the support they're kind of just thrown in, like they're assumed that they're going to be good at that too.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. So how do organizations find you? How do organizations learn more about you? I'm sure you're not the only game in town that does what you do. So visibility wise, how are you standing out amongst the noise? And for them to find you, you've been around a long time. So you have a lot of great, I'm sure, case studies and clients behind you. But I would love to know more about like what's working for you as far as that goes, marketing, visibility, and what you've tried that hasn't worked for you.
Awesome. So one of those difficult times that you had asked about earlier, how do you make it through the difficult times and all of that? I guess it was COVID, maybe just before COVID, where we had a game plan for that next 12 to 24 months, and it got shot to heck. And my business for the prior 2 decades had been built on all referrals. I mean, speaking engagements, we speak and we get clients from speaking, but most of our work has come from referrals. We put hundreds of people through various trainings but had gotten a little bit complacent because business was really good and had gotten complacent with marketing. Not something that you teach people to do or that you should do, because you should always have that pipeline going. Excuse me, but we had gotten complacent. And at one of the National Association of Women Business Owner meetings, a person had recommended to me the book, The Referral of a Lifetime. Because what I was feeling like was, I am not that person to put my face out on video all the time. My clients aren't on Instagram, not for business anyway. What can I do that I'm comfortable with? And so we implemented the process from Referral of a Lifetime. And in the book, the author says that, expect this to take 6 to 12 months. And I'm thinking, I don't really have 6 to 12 months, but okay. And literally within 2 months, one of my prior clients reached out and say, hey, this CEO needs your help. We've already talked to them about you, et cetera. And that kind of started us getting really intentional about how regularly, consistently, often we were in touch with people who had been through any of our training, people who had been clients, the decision makers, and just staying in touch with them and doing so intentionally and in the system. And, this is more your wheelhouse than mine, but in that system, you're actually starting the process of referral in the contracting phase. Mm-hmm. So now I say to clients that are new clients in the contracting phase, my business has been built over 3 decades on referrals. When we do phenomenal work with you, I am going to come back and ask you for referrals. And so you can expect that. And they're like, okay, in that early stage, they're like, okay, sure she is, but then we do. So we do great work. We come back and say, we said when we met you that we were going to come back and ask for referrals. We would like you to introduce us to 3 people that you think would need our help. Not give me a name of somebody, not, right. Please introduce us to 3 people, warm introduction, you worked with us, et cetera, and we'll give you the template to do that.
Perfect. So do you do any outside marketing? Because now like we're seeing that founder-led marketing is really on the rise. And it's like, as far as the trust factor is huge, we're seeing in the this year, especially moving forward, like people are doing a lot more research. They want to see you out there in, that consistency in order to trust that you're actually the person they should be writing that check to, right? And opening that checkbook to. We're seeing that on our side, and also in the market of, all the like a lot of businesses out there. And we're seeing this movement into founder-led marketing. Is that something that you're leaning into with social media and with, what you're doing out there? Or is it still mostly referral that's working for you?
I didn't know that terminology, founder-led marketing. I wouldn't have known to call it that, but way more so whether I write it or the content person writes it, way more coming out from me, way more. On social media, our primary venue is LinkedIn, but that's not the only place it's happening. Like, right. Personally, I'm not a huge Facebook and Instagram person, but from a business page perspective, it's coming from me. It looks like it's coming from me. And so there's way more content going out from me. And I'm not going to inundate people with, daily or weekly emails, but we do a monthly one from me. Educational, hopefully inspirational, something with a takeaway. And we have directly gotten clients as a result of some of that work. So, and then I'm getting out speaking more. I had a full year schedule when COVID hit, when the lockdown hit. We keep saying COVID as if it was all one thing. It was different aspects of COVID. During lockdown, that 12 months of 2020, I had a full year of speaking, which for me I'm not speaking every day. I'm not even speaking every week, but that year I had made it a plan to speak more. All of them canceled the same day. All of them.
Wow.
And so that was like, whoa. So since then, I lost my energy for speaking, and I like to speak. I speak more from a facilitation, more of a workshop-y type format versus just, I want people to learn. And I started cranking that up just this past 6 months or so.
Well, I'm glad to see you're getting back out there on the stage.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Janet, in today's world of constant change and disruption, what does leadership look like? And how must leaders adapt to thrive?
That's actually the publishing company that I worked with really emphasized me putting that in the front end of my book. Like what's different today, Janet, than, 30 years ago. And it is different. It's very different. So and I'm not going to do these necessarily in priority order, but things have changed. Technology is moving faster than ever. And as leaders, you cannot sit on your laurels in any aspect. So, let's back up. Let's start with COVID, okay? Lockdown. Everybody had to get good at first, some mode of technology that would allow you to stay in touch with your team. And one of the things that I said back then was, if you're a good leader, you're going to know you need to adapt. If you weren't a good leader going into lockdown, you're going to be even worse now. Because leading is about people. It's about leading people and making sure that they are clear on expectations, that they know how to do what they're supposed to do, and that they're doing it and they're getting rewarded for doing so. And that's all about people. And so with the lockdown, and then since then, all remote for some people, but essential worker. So just even think about that, Heidi. You're an essential worker. Well, what are these people over here? Right? I mean, just even the terminology that was being used. And so as a leader, you've got people that worked at home, that were juggling kids home, spouse home, partner home, whatever, trying to manage all of this while if they've got a poor leader who's wanting to know what they're doing every 5 minutes, so all of that changed everything. Then we moved to hybrid or organizations trying to make people come back into the office. That's all massive change over the past 5 years. Leaders can't stay the same if you want to lead people through those changes.
Yeah.
So technology, you got to be bad before you're good, and you got to keep getting better at whatever it is. And it's okay to be bad. You don't need to keep up with everything as a leader, but you need to keep up with enough, and you need to keep learning. And then, emotional intelligence became even more critical because now you're dealing with people, some in the office, some on screen, some, all this diversity of workplace. And it's not my arena. I have a client in this arena, but mental health, we as leaders don't have to be therapists, but we need to make sure that we're bringing head and heart way more than ever. So way more empathy for what people are dealing with, the uncertainty in the United States and the world globally. You probably have international clients as we do, and the uncertainty that exists. If we don't think that impacts people, there's something wrong with us. So as a leader, I've got to be conscious that that is going on. I also have to understand that creating a safe environment for people to bring ideas, which bring innovation, which bring creativity, for people to bring ideas to the table in meetings in today's world where there's so much hate, there's so much divisiveness. That's more challenging for a leader to create that crucible where ideas can be brought forth without it becoming personal. So, productive conflict. Productive conflict is really critical for leaders to be able to manage.
Yeah, I can imagine during the pandemic, there's a lot of shakeups in leadership because, like you said, there's for the employees that are looking to their leaders, there's a lot of stuff happening at home. I remember when my kids were all of a sudden home 24/7, I was just like, I have a picture of it. My eyes. How did day one go? This is how day one went. And, and we love having them home, but and I didn't have a spouse then. I couldn't imagine, like, can you imagine like that a whole added thing to, I'm like thinking about that. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then just thinking about the leaders, they're dealing with all of this at home too. They have
Correct.
So, the employees are looking to the leaders for support, but meanwhile, those leaders are having all the same things happening in their life. Right. And they don't have time to lean into the fear. They need somebody to talk them off the fear ledge as well of what's
Correct.
happening. And they're expected to show up like they've got it all together when do they have their moments to kind of like sit in it? I would love to learn a little bit of not a little bit. I would love to learn more about your book. You have your new release. So Tell us, so you touched on it a little bit, but tell us more about it. What is it? What's the title? What's it called? Where can we get it? I want all the juice. There it is. Unshakable Leadership, in case you're listening to us.
Unshakable Leadership, a map for unlocking strength, strategy, and success. And it really does go through the process that we were just talking about a few minutes ago. It's been on my mind for a long time. So we have published training workbooks that have been out on Amazon for years, our proprietary material. And in my mind over the years, I really thought this all needs to be in one book, one thing that leaders can use, people that are coaching leaders can use. And 2020, I started meeting with people to talk about it, and it just wasn't going to happen. I was the president of a local women business owner chapter, and there was just too much going on. And then, it just was perfect timing, met the right people to work with, and it happened over the past year to get it out. And my only desire for it really is for it to make a difference for people. That's really why I did it.
I love it. Where can we get it?
You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Barnes & Noble. You can get the Kindle version for 99 cents. And if you show up at somewhere where I'm speaking, you can get it there.
Amazing. Well, we're going to have all of Janet's information and where you can find her in the show notes. But Janet, before we do that, go there where people can find you. What's next for Berkshire Group and you? Like, what next 12 months? What are the big goals?
Have a couple of goals related to some of our product lines where I want to increase the use of those product lines, AKA the sales of those product lines. And that's really important to me this next 12 months. And then really want to get out there with the book, and not just for leaders to get clients, but also in arenas where people are doing perhaps even, I'm big on collaboration versus competition. People do what I do and see if it would be a help to them. So yeah, increasing revenue for the business in certain arenas, bringing on a couple of team members in certain arenas, and getting out there with the book.
Fantastic. So if I could give you a magic wand and you can go poof of one, yep, I can just hand it to you through the screen here. And you can go poof on one challenge or issue that you're having that could hold you back from achieving those goals. What would it be and why?
Oh, the first word that came to mind was me.
Oh.
And I think it's always me. For most of us, it's what's holding you back, is bringing the same discipline that I brought to the business early on and over the years back. Same discipline, same energy. It has grown over this past 12 months doing the book. Prior to that, it was hard coming out of COVID. I'm not going to lie. And personal changes. Personal changes, marital changes, all of those have an impact. And so it's me. It's me using the systems that I know work for me to make those goals that I have happen.
Well, if I could bring you back, if we could bring you back in 12 months in a year and revisit this conversation, which I would love to have if you're open to it, love to see what's going on with the book and all the goals that you shared. What does success look like for you?
I haven't fully defined it. So being very honest, I haven't fully defined it, but I know that success looks like me having scheduled and done a certain number of in-person talks and podcasts, because through marital changes and COVID, I kind of hid myself. So the song, I'm coming out, it rings true for me. And people that know me, if they hear this, they're going to go, what are you talking about? You were the president of this. You were the president of that. You were everywhere. Yes and no. I was everywhere leading boards and groups of people. I wasn't everywhere for my business.
There's a difference.
Big difference.
Yeah. And I really appreciate and respect the fact that you can reflect and go internal and say, okay, yes, I am visible here, but these are my comfort zones. And I'm probably hiding in the areas that I'm not so comfortable in. And I get to lean into that, right? You can get back to speaking on stages. You love doing it. And but there's something that's kept you from doing it since the pandemic. And maybe it's just because you have that memory of it all falling apart in one day. Like there are certain times in our lives we remember it like it was yesterday, and it's for how you shared it to me. And what I'm thinking is you literally could go back to that day and remember it extremely vividly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Janet, how can people connect with you and reach out to you and learn more about the Berkshire Group? Because I know there's people here that, need it. And leadership, I love that you shared leadership has changed in so much in 30 years. So thank you for writing the book. And I'll get into all of the thank yous in a minute, but share how people can find you.
I think one of the easiest places to connect with me is on LinkedIn, because you can connect with me, you can message me. Obviously, it's janet@berkshiregroupinc.com is my email. So that's easy. And then of course our website is Berkshire Group, so feel free to reach out anytime. I am more than happy to talk to people, and I can learn from any conversation. I feel like I can add value to any conversation. So more than happy to talk to people.
So yes, please go follow Janet. Go check her out on LinkedIn. You also can email her, Janet@berkshiregroupinc.com, and go check out the website, BerkshireGroupInc.com. We will have all of Janet's information inside the show notes. Also, don't forget to grab the book, Unshakable Leadership. We'll also have those links in there for you as well to go grab those, but you can find it on Amazon or your local places. But please make sure that you connect with her. As you can tell, she's pretty darn amazing. Thank you for listening to us. If you're watching us on YouTube, hi, Jen and I are grateful. Leave a comment down below. Let her know you were here. If you know of anybody that would benefit from hearing Janet's story, her journey, also more about what she does and how Berkshire Group can help, then please share this episode and our conversation with those that you know. This will help us. This helps us share this podcast out with more people. Our goal with this podcast and with bringing our amazing guests like Janet on, sharing what's working for them, what hasn't worked for them, is for more businesses succeed. Too many businesses fail within the first 5 years. Janet's been around for 30 years. She knows what she's doing. She is an icon and an expert in her space and in growing businesses. So please share this with those people that you know, founders, CEOs that could benefit from hearing her and learning more about the Berkshire Group. If you are listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, we'd love a review, that 5 stars preferably. That helps the platform push this conversation, Janet, and our podcast out with more people to help us with that mission of more businesses succeeding. I promised y'all a gift, so here it is. If you're looking to grow your visibility, you've been trying things, Janet has shared with you, speaking on stages has worked, referrals is really big for them. If you're trying different things, and maybe you're just, throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying all different things to see what sticks and nothing's working, go ahead and download our Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint and grab it. It's free. It's yours. Janet, thank you so much for your time. I just adore you. I was so excited when we had our first
Me too.
meeting of chatting together. I couldn't wait for this conversation. So thank you. I know you had a book to launch and all that good stuff. So thank you for taking the time to be here with me today. Thank you for writing this book. I can't wait to grab it. And is there anything that you'd like to share before I let you go? That last words that I didn't get to ask you or we didn't touch on today?
Oh, I don't know, Heidi, you're great. You're awesome. I hope that this is helpful for you and for people. And, let's just level up, let's level up. The world needs good leaders, that's for sure. So we can all do it. And it's not about perfection. It's about progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned earlier, leadership has changed, and it has. It's one thing you leaned into is empathy. As leaders, don't be afraid to ask for help. Because Amen. I think so many people are like, I'm the leader. I can't show vulnerability. I can't show weakness, and vulnerability isn't weakness. It's allowing your team to see that you're human, and they're going to trust you more when you lean into that. And when you're just honest with them, trust, again, we're going to come back to that word. With marketing, with team organization, growth, everything starts from within. And the clients that you attract, and correct me if I'm wrong, Janet, because you know this better than I do, but I've learned that just talking with so many people on this, CEOs and founders on this podcast, is that everything starts from within the organization. The clients that you attract, the growth that you have, the success that you have starts from within the culture of the company.
Culture has to be intentional, not accidental. You have a culture, period. You're going to have a culture regardless. Whether you create the culture that attracts the right customers, that's intentional. Whether you create a culture of trust, that's intentional. And so, it starts internally. It starts with us as leaders, and then it starts internal to an organization.
So good. Thank you, Janet, for being
here
today. Thank you all for listening to us. And again, leave a comment for Janet, go connect with her. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlight.